Mandatory minicamp has passed, and what are the biggest topics coming out? Are the Vikings really comfortable at corner? Why did they extend Josh Oliver? The relationship between Justin Jefferson and JJ McCarthy? And is McCarthy's arm strength a problem? We're going to talk about all of that and a lot more here on a minicamp wrap-up episode of The Real Forno Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Real Forno Show, hosted by the one and only Tyler Forness. A to Z Sports sought him out to be their Minnesota Vikings reporter and NFL analyst. And he's a proud contributor over at SKOL North's Purple Daily. Tyler is also the captivating host of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungry on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, and a founding member of Vikings First and SKOL.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of The Real Forno Show, sponsored by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. My name is Tyler Forness. With me, as always, in the top left corner is producer Dave. Dave, we have now entered the abyss. No Vikings football for about 4 weeks. But you know what? That's okay, because the Canadian Football League started last Thursday, and we got games tonight. Winnipeg Blue Bombers, baby. I believe they're taking on the Ottawa Red Blacks. And yes, their surname is the Red Blacks. I think it's like a bird or something. But I'm really excited for it. I've decided to get into the CFL this year, Dave. And I've decided that Winnipeg is going to be my team for 2 reasons. 1, Bud Grant, of course. And 2, their star running back, Brady Oliveira, rescues dogs. So I think those are 2 pretty good reasons to pick the Blue Bombers as my team. Pizza. Yeah. We had pizza the other night. Carboni's. Great stuff. I love Carboni's. Just a great tavern pizza. There's nothing like a good thin crust pizza. As we're already off the rails here on a Thursday night. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great. Been busy today watching the news conferences after they finished practice. Now, JJ McCarthy said he's got to report on July 20th. So that's the date we're watching. Now, I do believe next week there is an OTA, but it's for rookies basically only.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where anybody can go, but usually it's just like rookies getting a little extra work. And you know what? Cool. Get the rookies some extra work. It's always a good thing. And we're going to talk about a rookie that keeps being mentioned among these OTAs and minicamp practices. And I wrote about him this morning. He's a very intriguing type of player. And it's also no surprise why you want to drafted. So we'll have that conversation. But I want to start here, Dave. I am very annoyed about the perception of JJ McCarthy. Now, let's also be fair here. I had questions about a lot of things when it came to McCarthy. I had some questions about his arm talent. I had some questions about his overall ability to be a quality NFL starter. I gave him a mid to late second round grade. I was kind of low on him in comparison to like somebody like Thor, who I know a lot of people on this show know very well, who had him above my QB1 Drake May. Just absolutely loved him. And you continue to see that on social media, like constantly. He loves McCarthy. So I have gotten a little warmer on him over the course of the last year because of what we've seen from him in a Vikings uniform at practice, how he's conducted himself. But as we talked about, I believe it was last week, I still need to see it on the field to have a full buy-in, because we haven't seen it translate. We've seen quarterbacks with better skill sets not be able to put it together on an NFL field. So I still have that little bit of trepidation. But what's really frustrating to me is listening, as Norcius alludes to, he calls him Clown Turd. I'm going to call him Colin Cowherd. One thing about Colin Cowherd is he is a brilliant businessman. He understands how to make money by talking about sports. And he does a really good job of playing both sides most of the time. And he was talking about McCarthy and said, McCarthy had a 3rd straight public practice with an interception. And he's like, well, this guy doesn't have an elite trait. And he talked explicitly about his arm strength. And to me, I had some questions about like the vertical accuracy or the vertical velocity. Anything over like 30, 40 yards seemed to lose it. Like it just kind of died on him a little bit in the air. It hung up a little too long. But the intermediate zip, anything from 30 yards inward, he had a cannon, a missile, and he could hit anything, and he could hit a lot of holes that most quarterbacks couldn't even dream of. But it was the deep one that had some concerns, and kind of having conversations and looking at some of the mechanical changes. I think that some of those concerns will be eased on my end, because the more I learn about how to evaluate the quarterback position, a lot of the issues that he was having with some of that velocity and accuracy were heavily mechanically based. And the Vikings have adapted a lot of those mechanics. So theoretically, that should be better. But he's saying that he has like a mediocre arm. Well, that's not really true. You can look at, and this isn't the end all be all, you can go look at the NFL scouting combine where he threw a ball 61 miles per hour. And that doesn't say everything, but the record is 62 miles per hour, and that's Joe Milton. And Milton is modern day Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. That dude can throw a ball 100 yards. He can throw the ball over them, their mountains. So being in that kind of category, and he actually talked about it earlier today, Dave, and he said he feels like it's the stigma for Michigan because they don't throw a lot, and he's not like 6'4", 250. That matters. Perception like that does matter. Like Kyler Murray's got a relatively strong arm, especially for a guy of his stature, because Kyler Murray's like 5'10" and a half. So I find it really interesting.
In cleats.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When he's not playing Call of Duty, but I digress. It's frustrating. Not only is Coward saying this, but then he also said when he talks about the preseason game, I watched the highlights, didn't watch the game live, saw the highlights. That's the quote. Why are we talking with all these certainties and this firm belief that what you're saying is true? Oh, based on people I trust, based on reading the scouting reports. Well, the scouting reports weren't right either. And if you're going to claim this to be the end all be all fact, shouldn't you, this is a dangerous phrase because it comes from the world of Aaron Rodgers, do your own research. Why aren't you doing your own research? Why aren't you watching a little bit of film, watching a little bit of his games? You're just kind of outing yourself as not really having watched him, especially when you say, I saw the highlights. Even if you watch just the highlights, you should be able to see the zip and how he's able to really fire the ball in there in those short and intermediate routes. And the deep balls, that'll come with those mechanical changes. And it's not like he can't throw deep. He loses a little bit, but you firm up the mechanics in those areas. Buddy, you can take a big step forward. It's just so frustrating that these narratives continue to be parroted by people who obviously just have not put in the time.
Well, Justin Jefferson talked about he throws not only with velocity and zip. I think zip was the word he used. Mm-hmm. He goes, it's a tight spiral. That will help with the deep ball as well.
Absolutely. And Josh Metella said he throws with as much zip as anybody else. And it was extra funny because he compared it to Sean Mannion. Mannion's not a good quarterback, but he had a hose. He could throw a really strong, hard football. And I think that's when you make some of those comparisons, people are like, oh my gosh, you compared him to a bad quarterback. Yeah, but was that part of his game bad? No, that part of his game was good. And I think that's where comps, like I don't do a lot of player comps in the NFL draft because I feel like it can be a really big disservice to the reader and all of that. But I'll tell you this. I think it's really, really interesting that you have these people go out and say all this stuff. Like Matt Collar quote tweeted him is like, just ask one of us who's been at practice. We'll tell you. Just at risk of sounding political, just do your own research, please. Take the time. And you know what? If you're wrong, at least I know you did the work. And then I can be like, well, you did the work and you just don't know what you're looking at. It's
even Judd said
wild.
that you can tell from all the quarterbacks out there, you can tell who QB1 is.
Yeah.
Because the ball is so much better.
Absolutely. And those guys, and let's be real, I'm trying to get to be one of those guys. They see everything. They see the practices. They see the workouts. And they take the time to see these guys every single day. And they see the growth and progression, something we haven't been privy to. And because we haven't been privy to it, that matters. Because we're coming at it from a different perspective. They can tell you what he's looked like from the first practices all the way up until now. Because they have that kind of timeline. Just ask them. You have people on your show all the time. Have one of them on. Have somebody who covers the team on. Have me on. I won't be able to give you as much context as those guys, but I can give you plenty. It's just frustrating that we're continuously doing it. And he also brought up the fact that the Vikings were flirting with other quarterbacks. And that's another narrative that's incredibly frustrating, Dave. And I see your eyes rolling, and you're right. The big thing here is when you have the Vikings and they wanted to sign those guys. Yes. But let's also be real here. They wanted to sign them at their terms for what they wanted, not because they didn't believe in McCarthy. And I've railed on this time and time again. You guys are probably sick of it. I don't blame you. But it keeps being mentioned by those who have the biggest voices. And it needs to be stopped. Those who have the biggest voices create the biggest discussion. You see people on social media, the smallest group of people are usually the loudest. And in this case, the one who has the biggest platform is automatically the loudest because they have the biggest reach. That doesn't make them right. I think McCarthy's really going to shock a lot of people. I'm not one of those people who's going to say, hey, this guy is going to be like a Hall of Famer. This guy is going to make a Pro Bowl right away. I do believe he's very good. I do believe he's got a ton of potential. And I want to see where it goes. I want to see how he grows and develops. I want to see him just get an opportunity, and he's going to get that this year. And when he does, with this offense and everything around him, if he's first-year starter Brock Purdy, where he's just a point guard, this team could make a Super Bowl. Like, that's what we're talking about. And the narrative that he's not this, that, or the other thing is just, you obviously haven't seen him, so maybe just don't talk about him. That's all I ask. If you haven't seen him or done the work, don't talk about him.
Ryan Kelly, speaking of talent, was talking to Alec Lewis and said he has never seen so much talent on one team in his entire career. He goes, it's top to bottom.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
I think we're moving into a special time.
I think so too. I think so too, Dave. And let me tell you, I'm really excited about it.
A time since the 70s in Bud Grant, before free agency, when you could keep players.
Yeah, before the salary cap. The salary cap, but obviously came with the advent of free agency. You could sign free agents, but teams had to say bye first. You couldn't just leave on your own accord. And it was a very anti-labor kind of practice, but that's been rectified. We don't need to talk about the history of free agency. Shout out Curt Flood in Major League Baseball. He was one of the biggest ones to be an advocate for it. But let's continue talking about Jefferson and then his relationship with McCarthy. One of my favorite things from this offseason, Dave, was the fact that you had McCarthy, who had never had a Mike and Ike, How do you go through life without having a Mike and Ike? You go to maybe not a movie theater, but every kid, gas station snacks, you're going to the candy. Me personally, I went to the chips. Give me a bag of chips. Oh, those old Dutch onion and garlic chips make your breath smell like a dumpster, but man, are they good. Like that was my jam as a kid. Shout out to my dad. He's the reason why I love those chips so much because he would just buy them in droves. But most kids go right to candy. Not having tried a Mike and Ike once, maybe not liking them is fine. Like it's a gummy. It's not like a gummy. It's almost like a cross between a gummy and a Starburst. Like with the consistency, it's like a very gelatin style, but they're good. But it just admits to him, I've never had a Mike and Ike. And we know Justin Jefferson, like he showed us in receiver, like for lack of a better term, his dresser is almost like a drug dealer, like lair for candy. It's just impressive the stash that he has. But their bond just kind of has grown from there. They're going to do some workouts over the off season. Jefferson spending more time in Minnesota during the off season than he ever has, which I'm surprised he hasn't spent more time here in the off season. It's beautiful here in the off season. It's great. So I'm really intrigued to see how that relationship is going to continue to grow. And McCarthy made a point about wanting to work out with all the receivers this summer. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Continue to do that. You have to build rapport with those guys. And I think they're doing a really good job.
Take Tuesdays off.
Oh yeah. I don't think McCarthy's going to take Tuesdays off. Like I do think that was very overblown. He still did work. He just did stuff from home. He would have like a masseuse come over, anybody who wanted a massage. Like this isn't going to be a Defend Kirk show, but like anybody who needed like an athletic massage, they could get it. He would do film review in his study. Like he was still doing work, but he needed like football isn't everything. He wanted the family time. I'm not going to kill a guy for that. He still did work. Like who cares? But anyways, I found it really interesting when we're having that conversation about their relationship. They have identified it, Dave, and they want to continue to build on that because there are 3 relationships that are very important for a young quarterback. No, 4. The head coach, the OC/quarterbacks coach, the center. You touch that guy's butt all the time. You better know like how to signal and how to get the snap and stuff. It's basic, but it's incredibly important. And we've seen new centers come in or new quarterbacks and kablooey, it just goes bad. And there's your top receiver. You got to be in lockstep, especially with a guy like Jefferson. This Jefferson, like he may end up as the best receiver of all time when all is said and done. And it's wild because he doesn't have like that super elite defining trait like a Randy Moss had or a Megatron, where they had that size and game-breaking speed. He's just like a 9.5 at everything. Just such a well-rounded player.
Yeah, but the way he comes out of breaks is
it's good.
Like not seen before.
It's good, man. It's good. He doesn't round off, and you know what? Addison does it too.
And it's 100% full speed. There's no slowdown. It's just
And you know what's weird, Dave? Ty Felton has hips like the Tin Man before he gets oil in The Wizard of Oz. And like just a complete opposite of what those guys are. So I'm intrigued to see how he fits in. Jalen Naylor looks like Debo. Not the Debo video that's floating around where he looks like he's Eddie Lacy. He's a little thicker out in Washington this year. But Debo in like 2019, 2020, 2021, when he was at his peak with the Niners, like he's got some muscle on him. So I'm intrigued to see how that will continue with his development. Let's kind of move off. I'm going to talk about Josh Oliver's extension, and we're going to spend a bunch of time talking about defense, Dave. Oliver gets a 3-year deal, $23.5 million, worth up to $27.5 million with incentives. I like this a lot. And you could argue that Josh Oliver is the best blocking tight end in the National Football League. and he's good as a receiver. Now, he doesn't get a ton of production as a receiver. They also don't ask him to do a ton as a receiver, but he can do it. And in the 2019 NFL draft, he was a 5th-round pick of the Jaguars. As a pass catcher, he was not a blocker. I would rather turn a pass catcher into a blocker than a blocker into a pass catcher, because it's easier to teach a guy how to block and get stronger than it is to teach a guy how to be super athletic and go run routes and catch the ball. It's just an easier theory.
But he's a modern day Jimmy Kleinsasser.
Yeah, I think I told you that the other day.
You did.
Yeah, he is a modern day Jimmy Kleinsasser. So this signals a couple things for me. One, a guy outperforms his deal, and we're going to reward him. This is another one in the line of extensions that the Vikings have given out. Two, like, he's just good, and it's a signal that they're going to continue to try and run the football. Plus, with Darrisaw potentially missing time, we don't know when he's coming back. He did practice on Tuesday doing individual drills, but he did not practice Wednesday. And apparently that was by design, according to Wes Phillips, where the idea was that Darrisaw was going to get one practice. They were going to see how his body reacted. That's pretty normal. Like, when you're doing the recovery process, you want to see how things react when you do them for the first time in that process. And that's a good thing. So I'm really excited to see kind of how Darrisaw's recovery goes. But having Oliver's huge because he can actually block edge rushers. You don't want him on an edge rusher every single snap. You don't want to be like, hey, do this every time.
He's not at the end of Jimmy Kleinsasser level yet, but he's getting there.
Yeah, well, even with Kleinsasser, you didn't want him to block edge rushers every time, but he can. If you go ask him to do it, yeah, he can absolutely.
He would destroy him.
Oh yeah. That too bad he had those 3 fumbles against Chicago in '99. I'll never forget him.
I know.
23-22 loss. What a shame. What a shame. But what he can do is block. And that's what Josh Oliver's going to bring. He's going to continue to be an ass kicker. And I think they're going to use him more and more as a tight end, because Wes Phillips talked about 12 personnel. And for those of you that don't know, 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, and then the wide receiver isn't in that number. So whatever number's left over is how many wide receivers.
It's generally 2.
Yep. So 10 personnel, 1 running back, no tight ends, 4 wide receivers. 11 is 1 tight end, running back, 3 wide receivers. You get the drill. My personal favorite formation is 21, where you have 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 2 wide receivers. But if you have 2 running backs that can do all that kind of stuff, block, catch, run, you can do a lot. Like, imagine like if you had Aaron Jones and like Roger Craig. Oh, you could do a lot of fun stuff. I love that. But I think Oliver is going to be a huge, huge factor to this Vikings team really making that run this year. I'm really excited to see how this ends up working out, how this manifests. And I think this offense is primed to take a really, really big step forward, which is kind of wild to say because it feels like they're just incredibly explosive already. But they still haven't figured out a way to be consistent enough. They finished outside the top 10 in total offense last year because they just had spurts where they just couldn't get much going. The Titans game, the Jaguars game, the second Lions game, they have too many instances where they're just not firing. And with all the adjustments that they made, let me tell you, I think they're ready to take that step now. And that's going to be really, really exciting to see. And if they do take that step, Dave, Super Bowl.
Yeah. Under KOC, they've had 4,000 plus yard passers or passing offense each year so far. Will it be this year? I hope so. But with the emphasis on the run and thus Josh Oliver going to help with that, they may be a little bit more balanced in the attack. So you don't have Sam Darnold going, deep drop, 3 and out, boom. Defense is back on the field. sort of deal. I think they're getting not more balanced in the 50% run pass, but more balanced on production from the run and the pass will be commiserate to what it should be. More efficient, put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Less
I agree.
3 and outs.
They have made it clear all offseason they want to run the football. Jordan Mason, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, Donovan Jackson. Run the ball. They want to pound that rock. And I think they're going to be able to get it done. I'm excited to see that next step. And you know who else is excited to see that next step with the Vikings? Our friends at Underdog Fantasy. Because you can have a lot of fun playing underdog with the Vikings. And yes, you're not going to be able to play it right now with the Vikings, but I've been doing the extender on the NBA Finals, having a lot of fun there. And then you know what? Big CFL guy. I'm hoping they got CFL on there. Have not been able to check. But a lot of fun baseball stuff. The U.S. Open is this weekend. The first round happened earlier today. You can go have a lot of fun. Pick your unders on Scotty Scheffler. That's going to be my biggest tip because you know what? Scheffler is just on a run. At one point, he had more wins in 2025 in May than the Rockies. He won 3 tournaments in May. The Rockies won 2 games. You can have a lot of fun. All you got to do is download the app or go to the website. Use promo code Forno, Forno, and you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash on your first deposit. Have some fun. It is a great, great time. Remember, it's only available in those select states. And if you're having a little too much fun, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, Dave, let's talk about the defense. I'm really intrigued about Dallas Turner right now. Very intrigued about him. And I wasn't the highest on him initially. Admittedly, Bulldog, I don't have one because I haven't been able to buy one and then pay the almost $500 to get it framed. But I will get one at some point. But that's going to be down the line. I also want to get his Washington jersey. There is room probably for 2 more jerseys in this office. So it will happen. But I also don't know if I want to put it up because you wouldn't be able to get all of it in the camera shot. So that might have to be something Dave and I talk about when that time comes. So, no, it was so they're now the Edmonton Elks, but it was the Edmonton Eskimos. And they won 5 straight Grey Cups. It was a true dynasty in the CFL. So Turner, I wasn't the highest on initially, but I didn't get from my film watching of him a lot of reps where he dropped into coverage. And that was the real big turning point post-draft of why I turned the corner on the pick and why I felt a little bit more confident in it. I still believe Chop Robinson was a better edge rusher. I really do. And I think Chop would have been a great fit here. But for what Flores is asking, Turner's just better. He can run up the field with a running back or a tight end. And apparently on Tuesday, he broke up a pass 20 yards down the field, up the seam. He's an edge rusher. That's freaky. Bonkers. And he looks like he's put in a lot of time in the weight room. He looks thicker. He looks bigger. And you always have that wonder, okay, if he's gaining all that muscle, is he going to lose some of that quick twitch? Is he going to lose some of that athleticism? All reports said he ain't losing it. He looks really good. And Brian Flores even called him the 3rd starting edge rusher on the team. So all these narratives about, hey, Dallas Turner can't do this, Dallas Turner can't do that, I think we can put a lot of those to bed because I think he's going to come out and he's going to have a really, really good second year. And all those narratives where, oh, he couldn't even outsnap Pat Jones. Well, yeah, he didn't play the same style of football. That's why. Jones was not better. He was a better fit for what they were asking him to do. And you weren't going to bench Van Ginkel or Grenard an extra 200 snaps. They were playing bonkers football last year. So, I mean, I'm really excited about Turner. I think he could take things to another level. And I think he has a chance to be really, really good. And if you can get 8 to 10 sacks out of him this year, let's just put the line at like 11, 12 sacks for both Grenard and Van Ginkel. Let's say they get 11 sacks each. And you have Turner with 8. That's 29. Allen with 8. That's 37. Hargrave with 6. That's 45. All of a sudden, you're still one of the best pass rushing units in the National Football League.
And that doesn't give the blitzing D-backs.
Cashman's probably going to get 3 or 4. Harrison Smith's probably going to get 2. Metellus will probably get 2. Now, all of a sudden, you're in the mid-50s. Nobody has to be a true dominant force, even though Grenard was for a lot of snaps last year. That length that he plays with, 35.5-inch arms, it gives you an advantage over everybody that is just so hard to deal with. And Turner has very long arms too, 34.5-inch arms. You get a tackle with 33, an inch and a half matters. It matters a lot because if you have an inch and a half, all of a sudden you're in the chest and the other hand's like right here. Like, well, they can't even get to you. Those things matter. And I'm really excited to see how he does with it because he was a speed to leverage guy. He could get his hand underneath you and push you up with leverage, but he couldn't quite overpower you. Is he going to be able to have that speed to power? Because that's where Jared Verse thrived last year with the Rams. He just run your ass over. I don't think Turner's ever going to be that dominant with power, but if he can start to run people over with poorer leverage, then that's when we're going to be cooking with gas. Because when he hits good leverage, he's going to destroy. And I'm very excited to see his potential. I want to see how he's used on like third downs, how often he drops. He dropped 55 times in 310 snaps last year. That's essentially 20%. That's hefty. That's a hefty number. But it's really, really interesting. And Rob even mentioned Turner's only 4 months older than Tyrion Ingram-Dawkins. Same recruiting class. But yeah, Turner having that extra year in the NFL is going to make a difference. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see how Brian Flores uses him. I can't wait to see if and how and why it matters. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great.
Now, I found it interesting when Flores, during his presser, talked about 3 starting edge rushers, that he considers him edge rusher 3, and he's got 3 starting edge rushers. It's like, what has B-Flow got cooked up this season? I can't wait.
I know. I can't wait either. It's
Speaking of which, really, I think it was KOC today talking about B-Flow was messing with the minds of the people, and Ryan Kelly went up and goes, "What's this?" Trying to figure out who to call, who's doing what on the defense, and turned around to KOC, and KOC's like, "I haven't a clue." B-Flow is going to be special for the defense this year if they've got that already going. And it's going to help J.J. McCarthy as well. And he mentioned that today.
Yeah. I am excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And we're going to get a really interesting set of, what do you call it? Data points after about 6 games. Like bye week, I think we're going to be able to kick back and really take a look at where is Dallas Turner at right now. It's going to give us some really interesting examples. Couple more things before we wrap up, because I have a CFL game to watch, baby. Go Blue Bombers. First off, Isaiah Rodgers. Another data point of renewed confidence in him being a starter. Justin Jefferson talked highly about him. And then you had Brian Flores talk highly about him. Even said, I've been keeping an eye on this guy since he was at UMass. He was in college like 6 years ago. That matters. And I like Rodgers. We've talked about why I like Rodgers on this show multiple times. I think he's got patience and he's got the quickness and speed to match the patience. So if you do that, you can attack the football. And I'm really, really excited to see how all of that comes together as a starter because he flashed with the Eagles last year in the Super Bowl run, but he did not do it on a, what do you call it? On like a full-time starter basis. He's also 5'10", 175 pounds. He also 2 years ago was suspended for a year for gambling. Colts cut him right away. The Eagles picked him up off waivers, stashed him on the suspended list, and kept his rights for a year. I am very intrigued to see how he does in a new role as a starter, which is what he's going to be initially. He's going to be the presumed starter. Now, he could lose it. They're high on Okudah. Justin Jefferson talked plenty about Okudah. Brian Flores talked about Okudah. But at the end of the day, can he handle being a starter at that size? That's small. But it's also, the Vikings don't ask you to play a lot of press. They ask you to play off. They ask you to play off and read and react. They ask you to do some man match kind of concepts. But can he hold up with that size? I think he can. I think he's going to get bullied by some bigger receivers like a AJ Brown. I believe what they play the Eagles like week 7. That could be a brutal one. But I think with how they play, Byron Murphy does just fine, but Murphy is almost 200 pounds. So that size difference does matter. But you play off, you play patient, you attack the football. I think he can be fine. And you're not asking him to be God. You're just asking him to not suck. So be good. I know good is a very relative term, but Justin Jefferson is great. Byron Murphy last year was great. You know who was good last year? Josh Oliver. Good player. Be that level of player. The Vikings could hit huge from the value perspective because cornerback is more of a weak link system. You obviously want stars everywhere. If you can have stars everywhere, hallelujah. But it's a position where you can take a more of a group approach. And I keep referencing the 2021 Bengals. They had 3 solid players at corner. None of them were huge liabilities. None of them were great. But they were good. You get a front like the Vikings have now. You're cooking with gas. It's a really good group of players. And I think Rodgers can be a really, really good player in this defense with how they'll ask him to play. Speaking of corner, Dave, there's one more guy I want to talk about. He's an undrafted free agent. Utah undrafted free agent cornerback Zamaya Vaughn. Now, when the Vikings got him, I'm like, okay, he was like Dane Brugler's like 43rd ranked corner. Okay, whatever. But he's 6'3", 180 pounds, 32-inch arms. That's an interesting profile. He's got plenty of speed and quickness, but he's not good when it comes to physicality. So with how the Vikings play defense, he could end up being a steal because they're not afraid to go after slimmer players. They have shown time and time again a willingness to go after Jordan Addison, who weighs 173 pounds, Mekhi Blackman, who weighs 180, Isaiah Rodgers, who weighs 175, Dwight McGlothern weighs 182. They don't care because what they do see is the positives. Play a little off coverage, stay patient, attack the football, use your size and length to be able to get in there and make a play on it. 32-inch arms and nearly 6'3", that gives you a lot of room to be able to get in there, make a play on the football. And apparently, Alec Lewis has been singing his praises throughout rookie minicamp, OTAs, and now mandatory minicamp. He keeps making an impression. Now, It's not full pads. We'll see what happens once the pads get on. But if you're making an impression now, that does speak volumes about you making an impression later. We'll see. But he's a guy to keep your eyes on. And I'm really intrigued to see if they maybe found a gem at corner. Because if they did, oh, buddy, holds up for not going out and getting a Jalen Ramsey or Jair Alexander or somebody bigger in the free agent market or even drafting a guy. Like, they just feel comfortable with this corner room. And maybe it's time that we just say, you know what? Let's let it play out. You can always go find another guy. Stephon Gilmore and Shaq Griffin are both still available. If they wanted him back, they'd have him back.
It's going to be interesting to see Mekhi Blackman get back on the field too.
Mm-hmm. I'm very intrigued. Mm-hmm. I'm very intrigued about Blackman. I'm intrigued about a lot of interesting players. I'm intrigued about seeing a lot of these guys on defense. And I'm just getting excited. Training camp's coming up, and I don't know how many days I'll be out there, but I'll be out there for quite a few, having some fun. And let me tell you, ooh, buddy, there's going to be a lot to like when it comes to training camp. I'm excited. Get excited. We're going to be doing some like positional breakdowns and stuff here over the course of the next few weeks because we're in the dead zone. There's something you guys want to hear us talk about. Fire away. Throw it in the comments. Not the live comments. The comments after the video is fully processed. So once we're done live, I want to hear like there's some like is there like a game that you'd want us to like talk about, like an old school game or whatever. I'm up for talking about anything. There is time until training camp starts. But until then, we're probably going to do just a bunch of preview stuff, have some interesting conversations, maybe look at some more in-depth stuff on projecting out JJ McCarthy's rookie year. We're going to have some fun. And I'm really excited, Dave. This is projecting to be a really fun Vikings season. What's really interesting about this team is whenever they're projected to do well, they don't. And when they're projected to not do well, they do.
Hey, 98. Still 8.5 games per Vegas.
I'll never forget. 98 finished third or fourth in the NFC Central. NFC Championship game. 2000 finished third in the NFC Central. NFC Championship game. 2009 finished second or third.
Hey, everybody. No, that ain't working. Shit. Just a minute. Fuck. There we go. Sorry, guys.
Power just dropped off. Whole house went black. But if you can see me and hear me, let me know. Ha ha. Thank you, Peter. This is great. I'll tell Tyler join me. All right. And we'll finish out the show. Wow. That's crazy. That's weird. Just sitting here doing the show, it's all like blink. Everything goes black. And stayed black. So, yes, Daniel, I dropped the occasional one. Sorry, it comes from my military background. I was a crew chief. That's an aircraft mechanic. Back in the good old strategic air command days, before we lost our testicles and became part of AMC, Air Mobility Command. And as some people know, in the Air Force, there's us, there's them, and there's the real crew chiefs. I was a real crew chief. And we make the airplanes fly. Can't live without us, but we tend to get a little bit grumpy and rough for working long hours in shitty conditions. and it is what it is. Dave, you passed out a little while ago. Hey, yes, it is. Let me at least switch till Tyler gets back. Switch to single screen. Gotta get everything back to normal. Gonna switch this real quick. And there's Tyler.
Hello.
Good.
Focus the camera.
Yes.
Boom.
No, I was telling everybody, my power just went poof, and everything went black. Enough to shut down everything. I had to reboot the computer, reboot the Roadcaster, and I dropped an F-bomb. I told him that comes from my years of service.
Ah, that's okay. We can blame the commander in chief for that one.
I'm sure it's not his fault.
Well, I mean, you were in the military. That's why it's a good joke. Listen, we'll kind of keep it short because we were wrapping up as we got cut off by
God.
Well, we're gonna blame the Chicago Cubs because you're in St. Louis, so
that could be.
It's the Cubbies' fault. But thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for the 69 nice people that are still here right now watching us live. We're going to have some fun this offseason. Like I said, throw in the comments anything that you want us to talk about, obviously within reason. Maybe favorite recipes from Gary, if he wants to shine some wisdom on us, or just any kind of fun topics. We'll have a little bit of fun this offseason, but we're also going to continue talking football. We're going to have conversations about different position groups, previews, and we're just going to have a good time. And then training camp will be here before you know it, and I'll be at TCO sweating my butt off. But
hopefully with credentials by then. You're still working those. A to Z is still working those, aren't they?
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Right now it's a slow process. Let's just put it that way. In the meantime, thank everybody for joining. I am going to go cook a bunch of hash browns because I love me a good potato. And maybe we'll work on getting that Edmonton CFL Warren Moon jersey hanging up there as well. From Dave, I'm Tyler. Odie is down here sleeping. And Marzipan is vibing downstairs. SKOL Vikings, everybody.
SKOL Vikings. And thanks for sticking with us. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. It helps us grow this community that we all love, our Minnesota Vikings. And on behalf of Tyler Forness and myself, Dave Stefano, thank you so dearly for watching The Real Forno Show. SKOL, everyone!